Okay. So in the previous slide, we learned about instruction scheduling. So the last concept we learned was pipeline interlock. So pipeline interlock. Here we studied that the two instructions, whatever we use, that is this one and this one, are independent. As if you can see these two instructions over here, so the output R0, sorry, the input R1 which is there is a output of the previous instruction. So this concept is called as pipeline interlock. So the next one is we are having again two types. One is load scheduling by preloading and load scheduling by unloading. So what is preloading? Preloading is nothing but we'll explain it with the help of the example. Let us assume that we are having three loops P1, P2 and P3. So all are interlinked. It means what? The data generated by P1 needs to be P2, okay, and the data generated by P2 will be needed by P3. What is preloading? The preloading is nothing but the data which is generated by P1, which P2 needs, will be loaded in the at the end of P1 only. That is nothing but preloading. So what is preloading? It's a concept which loads the data required for the loop at the end of the previous loop rather than at the beginning of the current loop. So that is nothing but preloading. This can be effectively done by conditional execution. So we should use conditional execution to do preloading. Another more concept is load scheduling by unrolling. So we can unrolling. So by chance we are having three iterations, that is I plus 1 and I plus 2, which are interleaved. That means they are having some time for execution after one iteration. So by chance if the result of an operation from the loop is I is not ready, then what will in the normal operation what it will do is the result of the iteration I should be ready, that will be used in I plus 1. The output of I plus 1 should be ready, that will be used in I plus 2. But in load scheduling by unrolling method is in the iteration, by chance if the output generated in the iteration I is not ready, then still it is possible to do the operation which is done by the iteration I plus 1. That avoids the waiting for the loop I result. It is mostly done by assumption. The system assumes the output generated by iteration I, so that will be fed into I plus 1. So that to eliminate the waiting. That is nothing but load scheduling by unrolling. So the next part is conditional execution. So conditional execution, as we know that it is done by processor core, and it mainly depends on the four conditional flags, that is nothing but N, Z, C, V. Verify flag, zero flag, carry flag, and then overflow flag. So these are the four flags which are very much necessary, and they reside in CPSR register, that is current program status register. For most of the instructions, to update these flags, a suffix yes is sufficient to do it. For example, we are having add as, so its operation is that it will add and then it will update the corresponding flag which is required, which is generated by any operation. So the next one is we are having looping constructs. It's the last part of the second module. So in looping constructs, we are having decremented counted loops. It means that for a decrementing counting loop of n iterations, the loop counter I counts down from n to 1 inclusive. That means what? It starts counting from n till 1. The loop terminates with I is equal to 0. So we are having an example over here. So move I is equal to n. So the data which is there will be moved over here. And then we are having a loop which is the starting point. So yes, subs I minus 1. So it means that what? I is equal to I minus 1. So BGT, it is branch greater than 2. loop. Again, this thing starts executing, right? The main aim, we should know that we have started this I with n. So every time it gets decremented by 1, so it is n minus 1 till 1. As soon as it becomes 0, so it will come out. The second one is we are having unrolled counted loops. So the main aim of unrolled counted loops is to eliminate the time taken to execute a particular program. For example, we are having a program over here. So this program is written as it is yesterday IOH. It's a main header file, and then so if we can see, we are having a for loop over here. So it is int I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. So printf hello. So it will print hello 5 times. The disadvantage of this one is whenever this loop is getting executed, the program counter should keep on I on the this particular integer I, whether it is the value of 0, whether it is 5, whether it is 4 or something of that type. Okay, so that takes much amount of time. To reduce that, we are having one more program over here. So that program is something like this. We have eliminated a for loop over there, and we have just written the header file int main, and then we have written print 5 times. The main aim of writing this print 5 times is here we are eliminating a program counter to look into or the program to look into the value of I every time, so that the program will be free from looking into the value of I, and it keeps on printing the hello 5 times, and then it will end up the program. So thereby it will keep on ending, it will keep on reducing the program time taken to execute the program. So we are having other counted loops. In the other counted loops, we are having negative indexing and logarithmic indexing. In the negative indexing, this loop structure counts from n minus n to 0, okay, and the steps of size. That means the step whichever has been given. So it is given, the program is like this. So RSB, which is reverse subtract. So I is equal to, it is 0 minus n. So that's why the I is equal to minus n will be there whenever this program gets executed. Now that is a loop which is nothing but a label. So we have started with I is minus n. So as soon as if I use this, so this will be minus n plus step like this. Then branch less than, it will be loop. So this is nothing but negative indexing. That means what? You are starting the loop with a negative number. It's called as negative indexing. Then you are increasing it by the step which is defined by the user. Then we are having one more called as logarithmic indexing. So in the logarithmic indexing, so it counts from 2 raised to n to 1 in powers of 2. It is 2 raised to n to 1 in powers of 2. For example, if n is 4, then it counts from 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. So we are having a program over here. So that is move I is hash 1. So move I is equal to LSL hash of n. So why we are using LSL? Because it makes the power of 2 to get executed. For example, if I have 8, if I move left, if I have 2, if I move left by 1 bit, so it will be 4. If I move one more left, it will become 8. So it will be a 2 raised to n. That's how we have done it. So it is move as LSR is equal to 1. That means we are getting the value of power of n. So that is the end of the class, and also that is the end of the second module. Thank you.